You take him straight from the village all the way to the US without really trying to prepare him for the mission. You have to select certain individuals who are suitable for this mission. They are more of like messengers. They are messengers, mini messengers. They are carrying the modern look of Islam. We need to tell everybody what is the relationship between Islam and Christianity and Jewish religion. What did we invent Islam, or do we have a prophet? Do we have a holy book similar to the Bible, similar to the? What is the relationship between our religion and the other two religions that most of the people in the West actually believes in? We need to tell them who we are. Growing a beard or wearing a costume is not of the religion of anything. I mean, we have to have a good heart. We have to have really some good intentions toward humanity. We are human. We have to behave as human to make people like us, to listen to us. Even we do not look appealing to them with the strange looks when we go to Europe and try to tell everybody that we are different. You can stop drinking. If you don't drink, you don't drink. You don't have to illustrate it. But you don't have to tell everybody that you are different. This is your problem.
Yes. So you're saying here it's, first of all, the non-trained people who went to be the messenger of, or to give the right image.
The messengers, I repeat again, they are messengers.
Okay.
Many messengers to the West.
Non-well-trained people who were, or scholars who were,
right.
Who went there.
If you permit me, I might add something, please. In the interpretation, I quite agree to the point of dealing with the world today and in the future. Some of the logic that the preachers use, even locally, but it's even more serious externally, is they don't have a solution for anything. They don't have an answer, really, which can go along modern lines and which does not contradict religion in any way. All they do is turn their heads to the past and talk about it.
History. It's all history.
Part of that history has been glorious, from a religious, from a humanistic, from a scientific matter. Some of it has not been so, because it's not the history of Islam as a religion. It's a history of Muslims as people. People go up and down, make mistakes, etc., etc., and part of it really should be criticized. Anyways, apart from that, they should have an outlook which copes with the challenges of modern time and the future, and the world at large.
Which brings us to a real challenge here. We're speaking about a discourse, a new discourse that can cope with the thoughts of the youngsters.
Locally and internationally.
Recruiting those youngsters who are carrying out or who are being used as the tools.
Yeah.
They are from our nations or from other Muslim countries, but they are brainwashed. They have this new ideology, new concepts about Islam.
When you come to, speaking of history, I'm sorry,
go ahead, please.
Speaking of history, for instance, Harun al-Rashid, a very well-known figure historically, in the Abbasid dynasty, there was a saying which says in Arabic, كان يغزو عاما ويحج عاما. He went to pilgrimage 1 year, and he invaded the second year. Is that something that you could really teach this generation or any generation about the changing times, probably in his time, that was feasible or acceptable? That was the world. No, it's another story.
Yes.
That works on understanding technology.
It's how you interpret even the history.
How can
or
you
the details
express your respect to your religion and to other religions through the media, through many ways, through interfaith dialogue, etc., etc. Now, that very retarded and backward approach does not help, really.
I'd like to add to His Excellency that though we had a religious government for a year, they did not even think of making a methodology to implement, not to be lazy, not to be in dirty. I mean, a lot of things that our religion actually explains to us, they did not implement any of these things and make a methodology for people to use. Take it from the Quran and apply it to change people. You need to change people to better. This is important. I'd like to add one more thing. We always wrote history in the wrong way. When the Spanish got back Andalusia from the Arabs, from the Muslims, and they kicked the Muslims and the Jew to North Africa, we actually kept on just, weeping and crying that we've lost such a great empire in Andalusia. And we neglected the fact that half of the Christian world fell in the hands of the Ottoman Empire. And the Eastern Roman Empire itself vanished from the map, and that was the birth of the Ottoman Empire that was a superpower at the time. But we always like to write history the way we like. We weep about Andalusia, but we neglect the fact that we had a great empire for the Muslims in Constantinople, and half of the Christian world fell in the hands of the Muslims. We do not really compare this to that. Number two, in the same year that Britain gave independence to Pakistan, that was the birth of the largest Islamic country on Indian soil. At the same time, the British actually divided Palestine between the Jew and the Arabs, because the British thought that they're doing everybody a great favor by separating the Muslims in India from the Hindus and the Jew from the Muslims or the Arabs. But we neglected the fact that the birth of the largest Islamic country, there was nothing called Pakistan in the year 1945. Muhammad Ganah was the first president for this country, and it was a man-made country just to help the Muslims have a nation and to stop clashes with the Hindus in India. We write history the way we want, and unless we be fair to the international community and respect humanity, nobody will join our religion if we keep on masquerading people and killing people. What are we doing? Are we advertising, is this an invitation to join Islam or what?
It's not, now let me just, a last remark probably on the issue, if you like.
Yes.
Now Daesh, that was the theme we spoke about today, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Now Daesh and similar organizations are the different names that try to use religion and use the banner of religion. What are they doing? They are destroying the Islamic countries. Question, why follow them? What privilege or what benefit does Islam gain from destroying these Islamic countries? And is this the best way to serve Islam? Let me just pose this very simple question for the misguided, misunderstood.
But they will simply answer you back that they are fighting corruption worldwide and injustice worldwide, and that because of the world injustice, they are, yes, by destroying whatever they will, because this is exactly what I call brainwashing our youths.
That's exactly what the youth should understand. All right, we have lots of problems that should be solved. Let's look for a solution.
Yeah.
And that solution is not destroying our countries, pulling them down. Look at the map today. Look at the map from wherever you like, extending from Taliban to Syria to Iraq.
No, there is no Taliban now. There is
Palestine,
Boko
to Libya,
Haram.
to-
There is Daesh.
to
There is
Yemen, to
Nusra
whatever.
Front. There
And-
are lots of other names.
And everybody is suffering, and these are happy, raising the banners and deceiving people. Now,
Yes.
this
And
is
slaughtering people.
and slaughtering people.
Which I have to ask, is slaughtering anything of Islam?
No, of course not.
Slaughtering humanes,
course
is
not.
it relevant to Islam by any means?
Actually, this is, in my opinion, more of a Turkish attitude, because the Turks used to use this technique in punishing people in the countries that used to follow the Ottoman Empire. Slaughtering people was a common punishment, actually. But
It has nothing to do with Islam. I mean, there are no Quranic verses or nothing of
Islam
hadith.
is completely very far from this. Where is the merciful face of Islam? You want to invite somebody to Islam. The Far East, Indonesia, today, the largest Islamic country, joined Islam with no wars. Nobody invaded Indonesia. A bunch of traders actually used to go for herbs and spices, and due to their honesty and truthful dealings, Indonesia joined Islam with no sword.
And they are the largest
sword
Muslim population.
At
Right now.
sword point. You see, we need to change our attitude to humanity. I mean, what we are doing, we are hurting our religion, we are hurting ourselves, we're spreading darkness over our country. I'm happy that finally we might be able to do something in Libya if the ground forces in Libya will assist us. We might be able to do something for a change on the ground and prove that we can solve our problems better than the NATO.
Right, and you returned back to our topic of the night. Ambassador Badr, returning back to
Yes.
our discussion and
Yes.
getting out of the discourse or the discourse that we have to go through in this
Okay.
upcoming stage. Strategy, putting a strategy in order to confront terrorism. Egypt should be putting right now a new strategy because we are in a state of war right now.
We are in a state of war, part and parcel of that. Part and parcel of that relates to the discourse we have been involved in. It's a matter which is multidimensional. Part of it is on the national front, and it should be productive on the national front because it addresses the recruits and the young people that join or that are ready to accept or that try to find an apologetic attitude for this or that faction that works here and there. Number two, as far as the neighboring countries, as I said before, number one, our national security is the prime target. Two, depending on our estimation of our potential, and I think part of that, personally, my assessment is part of that is not to be dragged drastically outside our potential or outside our borders to serious adventures, is to define the way we can retaliate on aggressions which might take place on us, our borders, internally, or our citizens outside Egypt. Number three, cooperation in the regional sense, and I've heard about the suggestion of Africa, and there was, as a matter of fact, a conference which would have been held in Chad the coming week, but it was postponed without defining.
Because of the
yes,
Boko Haram's
because Boko Haram,
approach.
because without defining a new date, and that's very important to combine the countries which are around Libya and which neighboring countries to us as well, to come to a better form, more effective in cooperation to fight that terrorism in Libya, and I lay the stress on Libya because it is our subject here. Number 4, of course, being a part of this, call it understanding, call it coalition, whatever. Yes, Italy has demonstrated willingness to create also cooperation within the Mediterranean countries.
And with one condition, that the United States give them the go on.
Yes, I know that. But it is an idea which is worth considering. I'm not saying that, that Italy is ready to go ahead now, because as a matter of fact, they are part themselves of the international coalition. But are they willing to move themselves? I mean, it's something to be explored. I think France also
Yes, France has declared this.
is ready, could be approached, especially that it has extended relations with the neighboring countries of Libya around the borders. So this is the way which we should tackle. And let me, in that juncture, remind that our basic grounds in this country, it's Egypt. The way we make that strategy known, that everyone can contribute by adding or suggesting, and at the same time protecting ourselves internally. Not less important in that strategy is success in our internal schemes, especially the economic front, the unemployment front, and of course in the international front we are moving and rebuilding once more, hopefully, an active foreign policy which can add to our contribution here. In Libya, I quite agree that I don't claim that I know the intimate questions related to it, but I remember what Engineer Hassan has been speaking about. Libya is complex in the sense of its tribal composition, the ingredients of the Libyan society. How far, how effective are we in contact with these people at large? That's the last thing which I pose as a question. I don't have an answer to, but I hope we can do better in that sphere as well.
And hence, President Sisi has already assigned Sameh Shukri, the foreign minister, to go to the United States for this conference against terrorism. And also, we, along with France, have called for an urgent Security Council meeting on that aspect of how we are going to collectively respond to the phenomena of terrorism. So how do you view such moves?
Yes, we need such international umbrella. We need to cooperate with France, especially we've just signed, or we're about to sign, the Raval.
We just signed
the deal. We just signed it, good for us, okay? And we need, as long as we've done that, this means that we are enjoying better relations with France, because some time ago I did not really like very much a statement that was made that yes, they agree on the principle to fight terrorism, but they disapprove of our methods. Now we need to know what method is suitable for such an alignment. We are ready to do anything to keep them happy, but we need results on the ground. We need to secure our country. I think any European country that will be subject to what we've been subject to will do the necessary measures to protect itself. We need to identify our friends in Libya, first of all, because we do have a lot of friends in Libya. I know that from my experience. And we enjoy excellent relations with the military, if there was any left. You know, former President Gaddafi made a huge mistake some time ago by giving armament to everybody in the country claiming that this is the popular army that will fight against the U.S. when the U.S. invades Libya, which is, you know, what we are suffering from, or what Libya is suffering from today. Of course, Gaddafi had a lot of, you know, ammunition, warehouses full of armament, and all of this was known to us and to others, and it was left to these people to, you know, to use against us and against Africa. You know, all the armament that is given to Boko Haram is coming from Libya, actually.
Yes.
So, because actually Gaddafi had excellent relations with the people out south of the Sahara, and once he fell, the relationship continued. A lot of young people from Africa was there in the beginning of revolution fighting. Actually, they were paid and they were fighting like snipers and so forth. We need to have a strategy, international strategy. We need to get the recognition of the whole world that we have tragedy, and we claim that we have a right, and we need to have a vendetta. We need to punish these people who actually killed our people in Libya, regardless of Christians or Muslims. It makes no difference to me, completely. They are as dear to me as anybody else. I do not. So actually, somebody will get us the revenge. I expect our army will do that. We need to have a long-term strategy in Libya. I don't want to exhaust our army. The nature of any operation in Libya will be completely different from the nature of the operation in Sinai, due to the fact that Libya is a lot easier because it's a level ground, and the areas suitable for to host the terrorists are very limited. It's just the shore, and if you go inside Libya, it's completely desert and, you know, very rare water, and it's very difficult to accommodate people. So we need to cooperate with the left overs of the Libyan army, with General Haftar. We need to have a very smart war, and we have to tell everybody that we could launch a successful war if we fight in a face-to-face war. You know, Libya is almost ready for a face-to-face war with the Turks. I think if we launch some attacks across the borders in Derna, because Derna is very close to us, we start sweeping this area. You know, when these people actually came across the borders and performed the Farafra aggression against us, we could have actually proven that they came from Libya. But again, we lost the chance to. We need to be smart. Politics is the servant of economics and military. We need information. We need to score points, and hopefully our foreign minister will be able to get us this coverage, international coverage for our operations in Libya. And I hope we have a strategy in the area with Saudi, because Saudi is under a lot of pressure in the south. I think the United Arab Emirates, we thank them very much for their full cooperation. We need to have a task force in the area headed by Egypt to fight terrorism. You know, this will relieve our army even. If you have a mini army consists of 100,000 soldiers, and this is very easy to raise between the United Arab Emirates, the Saudis, and the Jordanians, and the Kuwaitis. All these countries that suffered from terrorism could form this multinational.
A joint Arab force.
Yes, this is a task force. Will not stop till they win this war against terrorism. Unless we do that, I do not think that our people will have any respect for us.
Speaking about diplomacy and the diplomacy role that should be played at this upcoming stage, since we're speaking about an international umbrella towards fighting terrorism, what should be the role played by diplomacy, our diplomacy in this regard?
Well, it should be directed, as a matter of fact, number one, towards, and we have that right, by the way. Under international law, when we are exposed to aggression, it is our legitimate right to defend ourselves. So in so doing, well, we have been exposed by these Daesh, whatever, killing our people, and accordingly we reacted. That's understandable, and I think no one can contest it seriously. The international umbrella here serves in giving that permissibility a long term. Not that it is dubious from a legal point of view, but because not adopting position that would complicate, in case we decide to intervene, our intervention or do harm to our international reputation as such. Number two, we have heard a lot in the last days about dealing with terrorism as being a uniform something. All right, we have got now different organizations with different names, but actually the dogma has never been studied thoroughly, at least at the certain level of the media. And accordingly, Daesh might be put differently from another organ like the Brotherhood, which compose really the dogmatic origin from which sprang all these organizations. Now, that should be explained. Together with that, if you want another interpretation, even when the Brotherhood ruled Egypt for a miserable year, you cannot really deal with that as a classical political party, because they were a secret organization based on secret religious interpretations, but hiding under seemingly open policies, but governed by secret organizations that had nothing to do with the government you see. So they were not a political party that was ousted, apart from the fact that the people wanted that. But I'm speaking about the mechanism itself or operation. That, I think, is an adequate time to make that more well known. Why? Because these factions are trying to find a coalition whereby they sort of set a foothold under the existing circumstances here, and they are ready to go to extremes by causing problems to the government, causing instability, well, making successful projects fail, and doing harm to our reputation. So we should hit back. I think this is the time to respond to it, amongst other things. The time has always been there, but it has never been explained in the sense that of having seemingly a political party, but really a dogmatic religious secret organization, and how this operates. And this is part and parcel of the whole scene we see. That's another thing. Number three, certainly, to capitalize on the goodwill, at least from serious partners, to help Egypt in the existing economic situation, rebuilding our economy in an effective way, participating in projects, etc., because that will make the scope of action of these people much leaner than what it is now. So it's a strategy built on building ourselves internally, paving the way on the possibilities of defending ourselves externally within our means, without outpassing or surpassing our means. And three, defining and shedding light on the components which compose that very tragic and very bad coalition working against us under the existing circumstances.
Yes, and that should be very much illustrated by our foreign
The media.
ministry. But first of all, the foreign ministry has to exert the effort
Absolutely.
of transferring this image if we want really to avoid.
I would like to add one piece of information to
Please
you
do.
to show you when culture and civilization moves in and blends with the religion, the outcome will be, that we owe Napoleon a lot, because before the invasion of the French to Egypt, the Quran was handwritten.
Yes.
And the house or the family that had a Quran, that was a very rare document, and it was not really all over the country like what it is right now. But when Napoleon came, he printed the Quran.
Yes.
You know that the uniform of Al-Azhar was made by Napoleon, the color of the French flag. He respected the people of the Al-Azhar, gave them the required dignity and respect, and he formed a council out of them. We need to live with the others, to learn to accept others and respect humanity. Other than that, I think a new dark era will cover our Middle East for some time. Unless we face this, I'm not very optimistic. Somebody will have to take a stand and face this threat.
Yes. Fortunately, our time is up. I have to end it here. Ambassador Nabil Badr, member of the Egyptian Council for Foreign Affairs, Engineer Hassan Shaaban, Vice President of the Party and Political Alliance. We thank you, gentlemen, for being with us.
Thank you for inviting us.